As the crack of the bat rings throughout the ballpark, the crowd roars its celebration of America's timeless pastime, baseball. For almost 2 centuries, baseball has been deeply ingrained into American culture and has captured the hearts of fans for many generations. While the rules of the game have not changed much, today's fans will hardly recognize the gloveless fielders and the home-carved bats of 19th century ball players. From wearing gardening gloves and throwing a rock wrapped in socks, through the gradual standardization and specialization of equipment, to putting on hundreds of dollars worth of cutting-edge 21st century technology, you will discover in this blog how baseball equipment has changed and defined the game through the ages. By far the most important piece of equipment in the game is the ball. After all, no ball, no action. In the early days of baseball, pitchers made their own balls before games by simply wrapping yarn around a solid object, like a pebble. They would then cover this with stitched leather with no particular seam. However, in 1876, the ball changed dramatically. Albert Spalding was a pitcher for the Boston Red Stockings, now the Atlanta Braves, who owned a sporting goods company named after himself. Spalding's company patented a baseball that was 9 inches in circumference, 5 ounces in weight, and with a leather covering stitched together with the signature horseshoe seams. Baseballs to this day still use Spalding's dimensions, and Spalding Sporting Goods continued to manufacture official Major League Baseballs until 1976. In 1925, Milton B. Reach patented the cushion cork center. Reach's baseball was made by coating a cork sphere coated in a layer of black vulcanized rubber and then coated with a layer of red rubber. Then the ball was wrapped in white and gray wool yarn until it reached Spalding's dimensions of 9 inches in circumference. Finally, the ball was covered with 2 pieces of white cowhide leather stitched together with double horseshoe seams with red string. Baseballs are still made in this manner to this day. It is almost impossible, as a baseball fan, to picture the game being played barehanded. Yet that is exactly how the game started. It is almost impossible, as a baseball fan, to picture the game being played barehanded. Yet that is exactly how the game started. Baseball evolved from cricket and rounders, 2 English games which to this day are played gloveless. In the 1860s, players gradually started to wear working gloves to protect their hands from the impact of the ball. In 1870, Cincinnati Red Stockings catcher Doug Ellison became the first big leaguer to wear a glove, by putting on a fingerless pad designed more for absorbing shock rather than ease of catching the ball. In 1920, St. Louis Cardinals pitcher William Doak patented the first ball glove with webbing between the thumb and index finger. He submitted this design to Rawlings Sporting Goods to manufacture. This design proved wildly popular, as it made catching the ball significantly easier. Modern gloves still have webbing between the thumb and index finger, and Rawlings is still a modern leading producer of gloves. Before the 1950s, gloves were similar to those used by cricket wicket-keepers. They had webbing between the thumb and index finger. The other fingers were not joined at the top like today's gloves. However, in 1957, Wilson introduced the A2000 model, which significantly deepened the pocket and connected the other fingers with lacing, making the ball much easier to catch. To this day, the A2000 remains one of the most sought-after and expensive gloves for elite players. Finally, baseball is not complete without a bat. In the early days of the game, bats were simply heavy round sticks of solid wood, simply carved to hit a ball. However, as the 20th century rolled along, bats changed dramatically. In 1906, Spalding designed a bat with a mushroom-shaped knob, which prevented players' hands from sliding down and distributed the weight of the bat more evenly. While bats no longer have a mushroom-shaped knob, the general shape of the bat has not changed much since. However, these bats were significantly heavier than today's bats. Babe Ruth hit 714 home runs with his 44.16 ounces bat, 10 ounces heavier than any modern wood bat. Bats did not get lighter to around 30 to 34 Oz until after World War II. Many types of wood have been used for bats. While all bats are made of one solid piece of lumber, the type of wood used varies. The earliest bats were made of willow, a nod to the game's cricket roots. Eventually, however, the vast majority of bats were made of ash, as it was durable and light. This changed in the mid-1990s, when Canadian Sam Holman experimented with bats carved from maple and gave some to Blue Jays players to try. One of Holman's Toronto test subjects was Joe Carter, who fell in love with maple. Later, when Carter was traded to San Francisco, he transferred his passion for maple bats to Barry Bonds. Maple was found to be denser than ash, which gave maple bats more pop. A maple-swinging Bonds, already a big-time slugger, became a home run machine. He hit his famous 73rd home run of 2001 and 756th career home run in 2006 with maple bats. With bats came batting gloves. Kansas City Royals first baseman Ken Harrelson wore his golf gloves while hitting in 1964 after he blistered his hands while playing golf. This was the first instance where a player wore gloves to hit in a major league game. Since then, batting gloves have evolved to suit the needs of baseball players by supplying extra grip and preventing blisters. As time rolled along, increasing scientific knowledge, as well as a larger concern for safety, has led to a series of developments in catcher's gear. Catchers initially squatted behind the plate with no protection, but hard objects traveling at high velocity can cause significant damage to the human body. In 1878, Fred Thayer, the manager of Harvard's newly formed baseball team, instructed his catcher to wear a fencing mask to protect his face. Soon, he came up with a patent for a catcher's mask, not unlike the one still in use today. Shortly after, leather chest plates and shin guards were introduced. However, modifications were made to improve visibility, mobility, safety, and comfort. For example, throat protectors were introduced in 1976. Catchers started switching to one-piece helmets similar to hockey goaltender helmets in the late 20th century. These helmets are made of high-tech polycarbonate. In the 1980s, chest plates began to use synthetic material, which absorbed shocks better than traditional leather and kept the catcher more comfortable. In baseball, every pitch, swing, and catch carries the weight of history. The significant evolution of baseball equipment stands as a testament to the game's enduring spirit. It is true that today's ball players wearing state-of-the-art equipment might barely recognize the bruised, gloveless hands of 19th century ball players. However, the evolution of baseball equipment has ensured that the spirit of America's timeless pastime has not only survived 2 centuries, but thrived. As we look forward to another season of baseball, we should look back to the history of baseball equipment to show how evolution has helped define and change the game for the better. At the same time, we should look forward to future innovation of equipment as this passes on to our children and grandchildren, just like our fathers and grandfathers passed on this beautiful game to us. Like and subscribe.